Okay, good evening ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Fairlight Parish Council FPC meeting, Parish Council meeting. Just before I start item 1, can I please remind councillors that this is a Parish Council meeting held in public, not a public meeting. So please direct your questions or answers to the councillors on seat. Thank you. Right, the Chair will invite members of the public to comment on or ask questions on any matters of respect of the business on the agenda. Please note questions cannot be asked in respect of confidential items. Do we have any questions from the audience regarding Andrew?
Yes, please. I think I've got 5. But
5?
Quite short. Item 6, finances. The question would be, why are we still using McAfee? I don't think anybody uses it, and Windows has perfectly adequate virus protection built in. That's my understanding.
Okay, McAfee is recommended by the ESLCC for laptops.
Okay. And item 10, I declare an interest as a member of the tennis club. But I'm asking whether the parish council would defer that to a future occasion. It's the access to through the mud to the tennis court, because tonight is the tennis club AGM, and I'm the only one who can be here, and I'm not on the committee.
Okay, but we have been asked with 3 or 4 emails to take a look at it. Quotes have been got to do the work as well.
Yes, I think they would like to know what it is that's being proposed to be done.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they would like to be here.
Right. So you want me to scrub that off the agenda then?
I'm asking for that.
Okay.
I did speak to I think it was Duncan, and I said to him that we were going to be discussing it tonight, and he said that's fine. Just let him know what the outcome is.
Oh, well, I got another message.
Right, we will discuss it. We'll discuss it and we'll bring up the quotes. But can you let Duncan have a copy of the quotes? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. Go on.
That's fine. Yeah. Item 11, the benches. I'm not quite sure why concrete bases are necessary where they haven't been before.
The one outside St Peter's is broken down, and it does need a base.
Yeah. I know it's broken. It just needs a couple of new slats.
It's rotten. It's quite rotten.
Well, the slats, yes, but it's made of concrete. The one outside the cove is made of concrete.
Oh, the Cove. I thought you said St Andrews.
No, did I?
Yeah.
That's my apologies. No, the one outside the cove is made of concrete. It just needs a couple of new wooden slats. Is the concrete base? I don't understand. Either there or at the Woolpack.
Right.
It says on the agenda.
Yeah, the Woolpack one has rotted.
I know. Yes.
So we'd like to replace that with a bench.
Yes.
The same as the one with the Cove, because we felt when we looked into it that not having a back or anything without a back was potentially dangerous.
Well, anyway, it's up to you, because it never was before. Okay, and yes, I mean, no, just to note items 15 and 8, rather disappointed to see the news about the police on the field and the hut, the new pavilion there. Item 16, correspondence. I've asked for an email from me to be added as and committed as correspondence.
Right, the councillors have received that. Do you want to read it all out?
If you could read it out, yes, please.
Okay. Okay, any other questions? Where's Martin? I thought you said he was going to have a question. Oh, sorry, you're there?
Yeah, item 9.
Yeah.
Just a query. Is this referring to the parish council land on Channel Way?
As far as I'm aware, the answer to that is yes.
What exactly is proposed? Because there is such site of special scientific interest and would need, anything would need permission from Natural England, which would mean probably actually coming up with a management plan, and if it's, unless it's a benefit to wildlife and environment, they're unlikely to say yes anyway.
Okay.
You can read it out.
Yeah, I can read out the email. The land on Channel Way that faces the sea, the side with no houses on. I know that is triple SI, but there doesn't seem to be any maintenance of that area. There is, because it's flayed every year. There's no maintenance to that area of the land, like there is in the main part of the Fire Hills. That's also not part of the Fire Hills where this person's talking about. As a result, the area is overrun with brambles and such. If we could get a working party together of Channel Way residents, would we be permitted to cut down some of the brambles and remove any invasive species? I think there's other issues with that from my point of view, and I've been up there and had a look. If we cut down the brambles, that means that people are going to start walking all over it. Yeah. If they're going to walk all over it, they're likely to park on it as well. And the other thing is that a few years ago, I don't know about it myself, but somebody did commit suicide over there by driving their Mini over the side of the cliff.
Very long time ago.
Yeah, I think as it's parish council land, I think brambles are only going to grow to a certain height if they've got something to, cling on to. And as we're having the land flayed anyway in January, as it was done, I don't think it's going to get too high that way. It stops us having to put a fence up as well to stop people walking on it. Comments?
I thought it was actually, I didn't know that we owned that.
Yeah, we own the strip, about 2 metres.
Yeah, 2
Two strips,
metres.
yeah.
I think this email is asking for permission to ramble all the way over there and cut down other stuff, and it's not our land.
Well, Martin?
Martin,
Yeah, the parish council owns from the road right to the cliff edge.
they do.
Yes. I've verified that on the land registry.
Okay, thank you. Right, can we come to that item 9 then when we get to it? That's okay?
Yeah.
Right, anybody else? Okay, we've got another email in. And they would like me to read that out at the beginning. Except that I can't understand quite at what point it's supposed to be brought up, because the question relates to item grants, and I know it's nothing to do with grants. This person would like to know why the parish council have not published financial data, e.g. the monthly statement of income and expenditure, so that residents can see what their money is being spent on each month. I don't actually know where I can take that. I can take that because it's not within the agenda. It doesn't relate to anything in the agenda, so far as I can see. However, what I will do is I will bring that point up when we get to 17C, which is reports from councillors regarding the new website. And it will be made quite clear at that point. Okay, to receive reports and ask questions of the county council. Carl? Andrew, we'll take Andrew first because Andrew was here first.
I'll be very brief. I've set it up already, really. Just out of interest, on the land at Channel Way, which is owned by the parish council, parallel to the road and a little bit further towards the cliff edge, there is a public right-of-way, a footpath, which would run up, to join the road again as you go up to the Fire Hills, completely overgrown, and I've investigated that in the past, and it's what happens when an immovable object is met by an irresistible force. You have a public right-of-way which must be kept clear, and a triple SI which must not be kept clear, and so nobody does anything about it, which is probably just as well, really.
Andrew, is it on the rights of way map as a right of way?
Yes.
Can you give me the number of it?
Not off the top of my head, but if you look at the right-of-way map, there it is. Yes.
It is there as a right of way.
Yes, and I corresponded a few years ago. I corresponded with Matt Harper at Council about it. There's no doubt that it exists, and there's an old photograph, an old postcard, I think, which the history group and everybody circulates, which shows it in use.
And the footpath actually is part of the SSI, is it? And it doesn't. The seaward. It doesn't start at the seaward side of the path.
Yes.
So it includes. You're saying it includes the footpath rather than the SSI is on the seaward side and the path is separate.
I don't know how accurately we can describe where the edge of the triple SI is. These things, in the days when these things were determined that there was to be a triple SI, people were using a felt tip pen on a map, and the thickness of the line prevents you from saying exactly where the edge of the triple SI is.
But it's not most of the country park triple SI, and
Well, it
they
is.
do keep the footpaths clear up there.
Well, they do. They do.
Yeah.
They do. But now that it's got to this present state, if anyone wishes to pursue that, I suggest that they do it privately, because I think I took it as far as I could go, and nobody seems to be that
You
interested.
go to say if Matt wasn't willing, then you'll be
But I say it's just an interesting fact of life.
If I remember rightly, when I was last on it, we had this problem before about clearing, and they designate, if my memory serves me correctly, the SSI went right up to the roadway, which was why there was a lot of controversy over the cutting back. And as you say, there is a footpath there, runs from by the post box there right up to the top.
Yes, that's right. Certainly Natural England wanted to go through all the process of us applying for permission just to cut the verge. Yes, that's right. Whether they were right to do so is another matter. And the only other thing I was going to mention is that at last night's Rother District Council full council meeting, I was elected chair for the year starting this May. Chair of the council it's an honorific representation of the post. It doesn't carry political power, but I hope be invited in my capacity as chair to visit various village functions and so on. And if I'm invited officially, I can wear my chain, and I suppose it adds a little bit of bling to village life.
Was that from Fairlight Parish?
Well, from the Parish Council, congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Right, Carl.
Thank you very much indeed. You'll be glad to know I shall never become chair of any council. But congratulations to Andrew on that. As I say, as Andrew says, it's an honorific civic role, and I think a lot of councillors find it really fulfilling to get across, whether it's Rother, that's 199 square miles where you'll be going to various events, and if it's East Sussex, it's obviously the whole of the county. So to bring you up to date, you'll be aware that there's a government consultation out regarding the proposed mayoralty. They're seeing it very differently, as one part is the mayoralty, the other part is the constituent parts of the new unitary authorities. There are still conversations going on within West Sussex, within Brighton and Hove, within East Sussex, sorry, so we didn't know within West Sussex and Brighton and Hove about the size of those particular authorities. I think it's quite likely, again, one shouldn't try and second guess a consultation, but I think it's quite likely that Brighton and Hove will have to expand slightly to make it the right size that government wants. So I suspect that Ada and Worthing will end up being part of Brighton and Hove. East Sussex boundaries, I suspect, will remain the same. That's the expectation. A lot of work obviously going on behind the scenes. And obviously you will be aware that government have cancelled the elections that were due to be held in May, so unless there's a by-election in either East Sussex or Rother, there will be no further elections to those councils. We had our budget of county, and it's a very difficult one because like Rother, again, I don't want to make a political point, and I wouldn't make a political point at a parish council, but the settlements were difficult. Government has stopped 2 significant grants to county council, so we were left in a position where we've had to make some significant rationalisations to services. If you look at and I won't go through them all because I know that not everybody will be interested. They're essentially, if you go online, you will see that we had the cabinet today, which is a very long meeting. The cuts to various services within adult social care are significant, but of course adult social care does account now for about half the county spend. It's a huge spend. We are committed obviously to protecting our most vulnerable. We'll continue to do that, but you know, until we get that review of adult social care, which needs to come from central government, it's going to be very, very tricky indeed for upper tier authorities such as East Sussex to deliver balanced budgets and still meet their requirements under the Care Act and the Equality Act. Locally, it's been very busy. I have been in various parts of the division with the steward and dealing with other highways matters since we last met. I've been pleased to say that in terms of the steward's line manager, a chap called James Kelly, who used to be the steward, and Jeff and myself went out with him, and we have inspected the key areas in Fairlight that were of concern, and that was a very, I hope Jeff would agree, that was a very useful meeting. The really useful bit was that he himself then came out and tidied up the bus stop at the top of Battery Hill. He did that himself. So he came out and did that himself. And he's meant to sit behind a desk these days, so I was very pleased to see him do that. But again, and I know I sound like a broken record, but keep on reporting potholes. I am now really focusing on contract monitoring because not necessarily in Fairlight, but in other areas of the division, I am concerned about the length of time it's taking to fill the Cat 1 and Cat 2 potholes, which are the serious ones which break tyres. Yes, most of them are temporary fill because of the wet weather we've been having, but those temporary fills don't last long at all, and I can understand residents' frustration. So I have been assured, and the Assistant Director has been out to the division to look at the problems that are here and look at the work that's being done, and he assures me that the patching programme, the proper patching programme, will start very shortly. It can't come soon enough because some of the lanes, if you're driving, once you're driving out of Fairlight, they are in an appalling condition. The top and bottom of it is there needs to, again, and it is going to be, the only people who are going to resolve it, frankly, are central government, because we know, because we've done an asset management of all of the roads in East Sussex, that it would take about 400 million to bring them up to standard. We spend 30 million a year. So you don't have to, yes, we can focus resource, but we will always be playing catch up. And the reality is, because of the warmer, wetter winters we're having, where there are problems, you only got to get a frost, and obviously result wet weather as well. And roads that are just about okay the previous year become horrendous, the following one. And that's particularly been true of the unofficial diversion routes that obviously people are using heavily at the moment because of the work on Queensway Gateway. I will have to go to Breed in a minute, but I'm quite happy to take any questions.
May I say a thank you for filling in a number of potholes between here and Rye.
Yes.
I've been driving that road a few times just recently, and I think the vast majority have been filled in.
Yeah.
There was some debate on the methodology, if you like, of filling in one hot pothole but leaving one adjacent to it unfilled, which seemed a bit wasteful. But I have to say that you've achieved a pleasing result. However, having said that, of course, being a wet winter and the occasional frost, there are more have cropped up, and it's a matter of keeping on top of reporting them. But the trouble is, if you drive past one, you tend to, by the time you get home, you tend to forget where it was exactly to report it. But
Can I just say to everybody that again, and I think you can use what 3 words now as well. I mean, I'm doing it daily, but in terms of the interface with the steward, when you report a pothole, just so that you know, that goes to the contact centre, but it pings to the steward's laptop, so it's there within hours of you reporting it on his laptop, and then he goes out to it and checks it and measures it.
on roughly the same subject, I reported the one road sign and the gas, like tombstone thing that they put in to mark where the pipe is, at the end of Smuggler's Way, just by Channel Way. I got to the 3rd page, and it says, this seems like it's an emergency, please phone this number.
Yes.
So that was 9:30 last night, and it did say day and night, but I thought, no, I'm not going to do it now. So I did it this afternoon, and the same thing popped up. This is an emergency. It was hardly an emergency at the end of a dead-end road. But anyway, I got through quite quickly, I have to say, to a gentleman with a strong northern accent, so I don't think he's a resident of East Sussex. But he was very helpful, and he can tell from what I'd written so far that it was there. But I only got as far as the 3rd page and couldn't go any further because it said I've got to phone them, and I always tend to think, oh no, I'm going to phone someone and wait for ages for a reply, but fortunately I didn't. But so it has been reported. I don't know what that sign is. I didn't bother to pick it up to find out what warning it was. But anyway, it has been reported, as well as the Channel Way road sign opposite the end of Smuggler's Way that has been reported now. So we'll wait and see what happens. But anyway, thank you very much for what you've done so far.
Thanks, Carl.
Thank you.
Number 3, to record any apologies for absence. A, receive any recorded apologies for absence?
Yes.
Dean Cook.
Yeah, Councillor Cook and Councillor Groner. Councillor Baker didn't.
Nothing from.
But, so I'll just record apologies for him.
Okay. I think we need to get hold of Councillor Baker. Okay. And to consider any request for approval, reasons for absence, it's okay for both of those. Lynn and Tim. Item 4. Code of conduct, disclosure of interest. To receive any disclosure by members, personal or prejudicial interest in matters of the agenda. Members are reminded to repeat the declaration immediately prior to commencement of the item in question and to complete the declaration of interest form. Jeff?
I note on leases you've got activate on trustee on activate.
And note 10 for me on the tennis court access.
Okay. Thanks, Don. Right, okay. To consider and approve the signing by the chair of the minutes. Are we all happy with the minutes?
Yes.
Yep.
Of January? How many pages you got in Uh, that was a planning one as well, yeah?
Yep.
Okay. 6, matters requiring a decision by council. To receive a list of items to date in January and to list of items for payment in February. Okay, yeah. That's a list of payments which went out in January and a list of receipts. You've got those and seen those on the documents, yeah? Right, to receive the receipts and payments report, to approve reconciliation of January. All happy with that?
Yeah.
To consider opening 35-day business savings account with Redwood Bank, monthly interest rate of 3.93 variable and FSCS protection up to 85,000. Do you want to talk about that or? Okay, are you happy for that to happen?
Yeah. It will lead time.
To open it,
Yeah.
unless it's 7 days.
Yeah.
And it was recommended, I've read from other clerks that it's one that they use. It was Unity, which obviously we've already got an account with, and Redwood.
Okay, everybody happy with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, good, okay. 7, grants to open applications for grants 2025-2026. The application forms are on the website. For those that don't have the website, and I'm talking in general here, if you haven't got the website, if you want to contact the clerk, they can be made available in bunch form or whatever the case may be. Did you want to say anything on that, on the grants?
We normally advertise or we normally notify applicants can apply from January. We're just been a bit delayed this year. So the normal procedure would be apply from January. We will collate and award the grants by the end of March for payments first thing in the next financial year. So we're going to launch a little bit late. We'll just the payments, notification of the payments will be a little bit late this year. It doesn't really make any difference.
Do we advertise the application form anywhere?
Yes, we
go
put
out
it out in the FRA and on notice boards and on our own website.
It's on the website already.
Yeah.
Did you want to go out on Facebook?
No. But our Facebook, Parish Council.
We haven't got a Facebook because it's been closed by the ex-Vice Chair.
I would advise not to put it on general Facebook.
Okay. Okay, leases. To consider obtaining legal advice for leases for Activate, the Tennis Club and Bowls Club following the rescission notice from item 15 from the full council meeting on the 28th. This is the one where 3 councillors had to agree to put it back on the agenda, yeah? Okay, comments?
No,
What it's saying is that we should seek legal advice to do so.
I think that, bearing in mind that I don't know how long it's been since they were first negotiated, there have been lots of changes, and it would be wise to make sure that our leases are up to date.
I think the Bowles one was done in 2004.
A bit
2004, the Bowles one was done.
Yeah, well, a lot of water's passed under the bridge, hasn't it?
Activate was 1999.
Do the SLCC and NALC recommend like a list of preferred solicitors that maybe aren't going to charge the
I can find out.
some of the public ones?
Bill solicitors which should honour us half our free consultation and will do reduced rates.
I can also email round the clerks in the area and see if they use anyone local, if they can recommend anyone.
Okay, can we leave these back on the agenda then for next month as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it needs to be considered and done. Triple SI land, item 9. To consider obtaining quotes from contractor to cut back vegetation and vehicles. Comments? It's my opinion, if we cut that back and we start highlighting where the pathway is, it's going to encourage people to walk that way and probably trip over or fall over the cliff or whatever. If it's left as it is, the brambles are only going to grow so high, and when that area is flayed in January, he often takes off the top layer of the brambles anyway, as well.
Yeah, so they're only going 2 metres back. I did look into it a little bit last night because obviously it comes under Natural England, it's a triple SI, and there is concerns about, I think, that area, but there's also other areas within the Fire Hills where there is invasive species, and yeah, it's not meeting their own requirements for the triple SI. They've managed the gorse.
Yeah.
But you can't do anything without
And
their
it's not,
say-so.
and it's not going to come any further onto the road. The brambles aren't going to come and invade anywhere onto the road there, up Channel Way either. Even if it is part of that triple SI land, they're not going to grow any higher because they're flayed in January.
I mean, if anything needs to be done, it's down to Natural England. It's not down to not down to us really.
Okay. Can we go back and say that the council are not happy? The council are not happy about getting that cleared, but we will, and we suggest that they contact Natural England. I don't know that it's our responsibility to do that. We don't want it touched.
It's quite a long distance as well. So
Yeah. Okay. We'll go back to. We'll talk later about what to go back and tell the person that asked for the requirement to do on that. All right.
We need to agree. We need to agree what we're going to say to them.
Okay. What would you like us to say to the person that raised the comment about that?
Exactly what you just said.
It's listed. You can go on to the website, the Natural England, and you can type in each individual SSI, and it has a management plan for every single area.
Right.
And item 4 is mowing or any other methods of cutting vegetation are not allowed because it's an operation that's likely to damage special interest. And number 11, the destruction, displacement, removal of any cutting of any plant or plant remains, including tree, shrub, herb, hedge, dead or decaying woods, moss, lichen, fungus, leaf mould and turf. And number 12, tree or woodland management. So yeah.
Okay. I think we'll go back and we should say the council are not happy about cutting any of that. However, we will ask the contractor that cuts it in January, ask his opinion on what he thinks as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. If everybody's happy with that.
Yeah.
Can we just say that it's in contravention to what Natural England?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Got some bits and pieces here referring to Channel Way here, which I wrote down November 2013.
Okay.
All relating to what we're talking about now.
Okay.
And which is much the same as what we're discussing.
Right. Okay. All right. Thanks, David. Right. Tennis court access.
want me to leave?
Yeah, do you want to, so we've got quotes from what we're going to have 3 quotes, but one of the contractors hasn't given me the quote yet. So we've got 2 different options, 2 from Dominic and then 1 from the other 2 contractors. But I wasn't going to table Dominic's first quote, because I didn't think that I thought we were just sticking to the other one. But if you want to explain, so if he explains the first quote, and then I can hand these round, and then you can compare the other ones. If that makes sense, probably not. But.
The first quote for me would be the easiest and probably the cheapest way of doing it. Is on the current path to access the tennis court. There is a couple of areas where it's quite waterlogged, and the best way for me would be to create with some scaffolding board or some edges a smaller path, so that could be accessible with some thicker bark chipping. That way that could be accessible with no water, basically, on having 4 or 5 inches of a bark onto it. And that would solve the problems without having to cut any vegetations and having to start sort of a landscaping in between the area of the field and access to the tennis court, which basically will be far greater expenses. And in the long term, this bark can be replenished quite easily at much lower cost.
And how much was that one?
That was for £1,241.20.
So that wants to make
Just basically a runway.
a runway through the bushes and
Yeah.
then put edging down
On the current
pathway
path at the
cleared
moment,
and then
yeah.
fill that with bark.
Yeah.
But that won't require a digger because he's putting the edging in. It means it doesn't need to be levelled because the
No,
bark
fine.
will fill in.
We use basically, it's using the current path as it is, instead of using the whole width of the path, make it halfway, sort of narrowing, and that would give access for even a wheelchair access, if need be. A thicker layer of bark, which will be retained with some edges on the side, and make it sort of quite dry to walk on.
And is that the bit where the edge of the tennis court is here? If you've just come out of the tennis court, is that straight up
It's
there, or is the other bit?
No, it's basically the current way as you come down the bottom of the field to get access to the wood and to the tennis court.
Yeah.
You carry on that sort of current path, basically.
So it's next to the muddy path that's there
Yeah,
now.
it's on the muddy path.
Oh, okay. Okay. Got you. And then if you... Sorry, donkey.
Right.
So the next two quotes are... So his first one is to... I'm assuming you know what that was for, to
Yeah.
put where... My only concern is that the water, when Sarah, do you remember when we met?
Yeah.
We met with someone from the Wetlands Trust, and he said obviously the water runs straight down the hill to where the pathway is now, and it's the wettest point. So I'm just worried that if we perhaps put edge in there and then filled it with bark, that it would maybe sink. I'm not sure.
It doesn't seem to be like a particularly long-term solution.
Right. So the other solutions were to make a opening through the bushes and then put a pathway through.
Going up.
Going upwards, yeah. But we've got two quotes. So I'll chase Ian to get the third one. I have chased him, but I think he's quite
That's,
busy. So
digger hire, is that including, or would someone have to be operating that?
Dominic will hire a digger. It'll be him.
Oh,
He'll
right.
be the one driving it. But that's what's pushed his cost up because Star Surfacing have got their own digger. So it's obviously included in their price because they don't have to pay extra for it.
Yeah, the only thing I can say is that time went down there with Spike, Big Spike, and my shovel a couple of weeks ago, and where it is absolutely waterlogged, under literally only about 4 inches of mud, there is evidence of a gravel path at some point down there. Before the tarmac, nothing but a little bit of tarmac by the entrance. And as you try and dig through or spear even, you know, pointy thing through, it is quite shallow. And I'm just wondering whether we should just look at clearing the mud or doing something as far as drainage even, if possible. I don't know.
What happened to the idea of steps down?
I think the steps, because the steps wouldn't be wheelchair accessible, and there was a couple of comments made about obviously if people want to go down and watch people play.
So that it needs to be wheelchair accessible, does it?
You need to show that you have made possible access to it. That's the rules and regulations.
What's suggested here will not last long term as far as I can see. So,
Yeah, I wouldn't think you'll get a wheelchair up there in the middle of winter.
I'll let you
You'd
know.
be I don't know, would AA come out for you? I don't know.
It doesn't work.
Doesn't work, no.
The other thing that we did talk about was putting like a concrete path in, wasn't it? And it was like a zigzag, so they would come down. But obviously that's going to be really costly because it's going to require a lot more work and material.
Could you have a word with Duncan
Okay.
and find out what, if any of the tennis people have got an idea of what they think might be a good idea, whilst you're getting their other quotes as well.
Yeah.
Should we revisit this next month?
You can do, but because the only trouble is we start touching the hedge. You won't be able to touch the hedge before after March.
So it needs to be done pretty quickly.
Yeah, because
Well,
they're
you might actually be supposed to touch them from the end of the week.
no.
End of this week.
End of this week. So
Oh, yeah,
doesn't really matter
I thought
what
it was
we
the
do
end of
now,
March.
is it?
No.
They totally changed it this year.
Well,
First of March.
if you can get the other quote, because we should get 3 quotes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So get the other quote.
Yeah, have a word with Duncan, see what he thinks. What do you think of clearing that mud off of that path? Just clearing the mud off the
If you
path.
clear the mud off,
You've got something solid to walk on for the time being.
you can clear the mud off, but it's still going to have all the water laying on top.
Yeah.
It's still going to
Okay.
get wet down there.
And it's,
But it would eliminate the
I
slop.
just think in the winter, do you get any ice on that surface?
Well, it's not really a surface. I'm just
It's
saying
going to be a
it's,
grit, but it's not.
there
It's
seems
not
to
sinkable,
be
is it?
evidence
It's
that there
hard.
was once a gravel path.
So should we?
How compacted it is. It's obviously very compacted because the water's not draining
it's lasted,
through.
isn't it?
The only other thing to do that is if we clear the mud, then put some form of. If you use wood, that's going to be just as bad in the winter time, isn't it? It's going to be slippery. Unless you cover it with wire mesh on top. So build up that so as it's actually as high as the mud is now. So anything that's any water or whatever is going to come down and wash underneath it, wash it away. Yeah. We're still running out of time anyway to get it done, so it's not going to be done short term, is it?
Not if you want to touch that hedge, no.
Well, I don't think that we can go down the route of getting it done within a week to cut any of the hedges down or do anything with it. So you could get the other quote and ask Duncan to give me a ring, can you?
Yeah.
And I'll have a chat with him. I have spoken with Sandy Mosier at some stage, and I know that someone else other than Andrew has mentioned it. When are we going to do something about it? But our hands are tied in terms of trying to do something quickly, and short term, it's not going to pay off. It's got to be something that we're going to do long term, in our opinion. So we'll get the other quote and then we'll see where we go from there. Right. Okay, benches 11. To consider replacement benches in the following locations. Jeffrey.
It came up with the previous parish council, which agreed 2 of them. But since then, we've looked, as our councillor Mayor's noticed, since then we also looked at the one at Just Property, which is rotten slats, completely rotten slats over 2 bits of concrete. I don't know if people want to add a 4th one tonight, or whether we can when we go to get quotes, because there is another missing bench which I've only just remembered, which is the one at the Battery Hill by the mountain, which did belong to the parish council, but went missing about 2 years ago.
Is that the one up by the?
By the viewpoint.
By the
By
viewpoint.
the viewpoint. I suspect it was last replaced in the 1970s. And it was literally just, a plank on 2 struts, but there had been a bench up there. Because looking at it, the first recorded things I found in one of the press was the parish council discussing the replacement of a bench in 1921. So it's been up there a long time.
Okay.
When I don't know, we've really got to go away and get 3 quotes.
So 3 quotes for those benches in those 4 for the 4 locations.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And we can make a decision next month, I think. Is it agenda item just to agree to do this? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I have a problem with ordinary. Well, I'd just fall off them anyway if I sat with a plank of wood on two. And I'm thinking of the aged population that are likely to use these around here. The one at St Andrews, you're going to have to climb up to get onto the bench anyway. The one at the Woolpack. To me, I've seen people. The number of people that I've seen standing there, most of them have got walking sticks, and I'm a bit concerned about whether anything should just be a straight plank of wood. To my mind, it should have arms on the side and a decent back, because if the bus is late by half an hour or an hour, they're still sitting there.
To my mind, it's a matter of the image that you want to project. I mean, if you just want something on a couple of concrete pillars and a couple of planks, that speaks to me of a utilitarian approach, and I think the village deserves something rather better, a proper bench in the normal bench style that you see in parks everywhere. But there's another issue, and that is maintenance. You can buy these things and install them, but you need to look after them if you want them to last. And that obviously hasn't been happening.
Well, that's not strictly true, because I know that a couple of them have been repaired.
Yeah.
But it needs to be done on a regular basis. It needs to be done once or twice a year.
Unless they're plastic.
There are some quite nice looking resin ones about now.
I mean, would the council consider having them dedicated, people paying for having a dedication on the bench, which would go towards the cost of the bench?
It was going to be looked into, and I suppose it's optional whether we look into that, because I think I'm right in saying that the FRA were approached on this once, and they were going to look into having.
I mean, it would go towards the cost of the bench, wouldn't it?
Well, it's all stuff that can come up later.
Yeah.
Okay, can you get the 3 quotes for that then?
Yeah.
Danielle, thank you.
For 3 different benches.
4.
4 different types of bench.
No, the same type of bench, either 2 or 3.
The bench with a back and 2 sides.
I'm thinking arms, back.
Yes.
Yeah. 2 and 3 seaters.
Proper benches.
Yeah, proper benches. Yeah.
And you don't want them to be plastic or resin, you just want wooden ones, or I can look for other things.
I don't think plastic sets are nice.
They
last a long
plastics,
time.
The ones up the park, in very, very bright sunny days, they actually absorb the heat and you could barely sit in them. Well, you can sit in them, but you will feel the heat coming off them if they're the dark ones.
You don't really get any sun, so.
But we don't get sun in green.
The green ones are alright, Jeff.
I've never sat in the green.
Well, come round and try it any time you like. Yes.
Well, I can get an option.
Suspend stand orders. Yes, go ahead, Jeff.
Chair, is it something the seal money could be used for?
The,
To get
the money.
for the market garden, say?
The money is not an issue. There's a lot of unspent money put aside in earmarked reserves
Right.
for the replacement and repair of
I know it's
fixtures and
been going on
fittings.
for some time.
That's already in the earmarked reserves, and then we'll have an underspend this year. We can also put towards it.
So a better quality one, you could touch into the seal money.
For these
I don't really
benches,
think
I don't
we
think we
necessarily-
need to touch that.
Don't need to
Mark
touch that,
still
no.
money.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so Daniel's going to get quotes for those then. Okay.
Because we're,
Yeah, wooden ones, yeah.
right, okay.
Number 12, annual play inspection report.
She's ready to
Yep.
have it, but
You've read it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything was green, which means nothing potentially dangerous or dangerous.
Okay. Yeah, I did notice that there
There
were a
were a
couple.
few little bits and pieces
Yeah.
you can do.
Okay.
I'll make a
Signs
list and then give it to you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, 13, Fairlight Pavilion. Councillor Smith, the report on Fairlight Pavilion charities.
I'm just going to get my notes up. Sorry. Where do I start? I can make this long, I can make it short. Fairlight Pavilion was a charity set up last October 23, to try and fund and commence the build of the replacement hut up in the playing fields. When the sort of steering group for the parish council became a charity to try and fund it, because 2-3 years back, very briefly, 2-3 years back, after planning permission was found, sorted, we looked into the council steering group, so I'd started to look into the funding. The funding streams had really dried up for public bodies. Some of it was a bit of a hangover from COVID days, when all the big fundings were going to support post-COVID things much more than public bodies. We were advised by 3 independent, proper avenues that your best chance would be to try and do it under a charity status. So there was a plan to, if we were successful, there was an agreement, let's say, with the parish council, minuted and documented, that once a charity was completely set up and met the previous council's criteria, the council would relinquish the project over to the charity. So the charity was set up October 23 after planning permission. However, planning permission had 2 conditions to do with the drainage of the new build, both foul and surface water. On the plans, it showed, and I think I'm fair to say the previous council even assumed, that everything was fine with the surface and wastewater, because the plans showed it going out to the sewer and meadowway. and I think everyone just assumed that was that, done and dusted by the civil engineers. But it wasn't really the case. The civil engineers had yet to put in the plans to Rother Planning to get signed off for two conditions, one being the external materials of the new build and the second one being the disposal of surface and foul water. So that was quickly spotted and we started to chase it, and it came back initially. This should make some of you laugh. Southern Water said they don't have a sewer in Meadowway. So we had got the pathfinders involved. It transpired Meadowway was a private road when it was built, the sewer was private. So Southern Water haven't got it on their mapping portal. So they refused, on 2 occasions they refused, said no, we haven't got sewer. And then we reminded them that since 2011 they have to adopt all sewers, whether they're private or not. And they said, oh yes, we do have a sewer there. So permission was sought to connect to it. However, when the permission came back, it was for foul water only. We've tried, the civil engineers, myself, all and sundry, pathfinders have been involved. We have tried to persuade Southern Water to take the surface water, and they have blatantly, just totally refused. They've just said no. And they've said, you have to use soak away. So we went back to the civil engineers. Is there any point in trying to get the connection to Commander's Walk? No, you're going to come across the same thing. Even so, that is a combined sewer. They will say you've got to try a SUDS plan first. We even went back to the water board and said, after attenuation, can we put water into the combined sewer? And they said, no, you've got to try soak away first. As we all know, the field is highly impermeable. One of the main problems, this is one of the deciding factors why the Pavilion project is it has technically disbanded now. The soak away needed would be 7 metres by 20 metres. It's a huge area of field. It's got to be that big and shallow, so the deep depth of it's only about 0.75 of a metre, the actual thing, but it's got to have that vast area because of the impermeability of the ground up there. Then we looked into the cost of it. Circa costs from a couple of builders came back just off the top of their head, that's not quoted, and MTS, the sewage people, they've all said you're looking at a ballpark of £60,000 plus to do the soak away. So the committee, Fairlight Pavilion Committee, also thought, didn't want the onus or responsibility of having this soak away on field. Yes, it would have taken the parish council's permission to do it before you go to planning. It could have even been refused at either of those stages. The parish council could refuse it, you're not digging up our field to that amount. And then you could have got permission from the parish council, taken it to planning, and planning could have still refused, and then you would have gone back to the circle with the water balls. And we have also looked into highways drainage, and they said no, do a soak away. And the only other feasible way of getting rid of the surface water would be somehow pipe it all the way down to the stream in between the Knoll Road and Farley Way, which is basically trying to put pipework through the woods. It's just unfeasible. So that was one major stumbling block. Then we had this complication with the leases. Some of you may be aware that the previous parish council, and rightfully so again, sought how to do a correct lease during the build process. So if it was built say like it's Activate Bowls Club, it's quite simple to do a lease. But because this is a charity doing the build on parish council land, the lease would have to cover every single unforeseen eventuality. Again, the costs were horrific. Estimated costs I've seen were between £8,000 and £10,000 just to write a lease to cover all eventualities. So there's an added problem as well because the lease, because it's leasehold, a lot of funders would want you to have at least a 50-year lease, which is quite unusual for any parish council to honour a lease for that long. Not impossible, but again, it was just added complication. And a lot of the funders were asking to see that lease as well as the final lease, what it would be, which is actually an unknown quantity, because as though Fairlight Pavilion was set up to get the build done, it wasn't necessarily going to be the managing people afterwards. And the more we looked into funding, the more of a tangled web it became, because a lot of these funders, well, that's really the lease is one thing. Then I'll move on to a little bit to do with the funding. I think it's fair to say that in hindsight, once we got the planning permission, we should have sought building costs, because at the time we assumed that the building costs would be probably around about 400,000. When Fairlight Pavilion started to get quotes, we were quite shocked. This is without the added soakaway problem. Quotes coming back up to 800,000 to do the build, a totally unexpected amount. The lowest one would have worked out to be about 619, and the highest one over £800,000. So then, if you do a general sort of 25% contingency on top, you're talking a vast amount of money, anywhere between 750 to say £100,000. When you try and go to get capital funding for that sort of project, the funders, basically you're in a situation, because of the way that major funding works, they would want a huge lease. They would want to see a 50-year lease. The other thing they would want to see is a proven track record of potential income. And one of the first questions coming back from just looking at the application forms for these big funders was, you can't just put down figures of, we think we can rent it out for 4 weekends a year. Because one of the things they will ask is, what's a track record of what's there now and it's been there for 25 years? Well, we're going to go back and say, well, we haven't a track record of anything. Another funding problem I even came across was they were saying, there's already a village hall in Fairlight. Why do you want another village hall? You need to prove and justify the demand, which you couldn't do to the tune of 800,000. Also, when you talk about borrowing from these capital funders, the big problem we unearthed was you cannot break soil unless you've got all the money to do that build within the timescale. Those timescales have got tighter and tighter. Some of them are down to 2 years. So to try and even get the funding, together to do a build is just basically virtually impossible. Because of all the other complications that come into it, especially the lease. What else was a major thing? So we had the main things we considered were the complications of the lease, complications of the surface water, the extreme difficulties, if not impossibility, of raising the money. So at our last meeting, the Fairlight Pavilion meeting, that lots of the trustees felt they didn't want the onus of the responsibility with the complications to carry on trying to get this project done. It's never been officially relinquished by the Parish Council. It is still and always has been the Parish Council project. It now looks like it's going to be more achievable staying with the Parish Council than going down the route of a charity. Because even if you want to try and gain funding as with the help of the word charity, a parish council can actually open a charity for the build and be the sole trustees of the charity. But anyway, cut a long story short, the Fairlight Pavilion trustees have basically withdrawn. It was a unanimous decision or agreement that we can't proceed because we just can't foresee us ever being able to do the build.
One of the main things that when this project was taken on was that we didn't feel, based on the survey done in 2019 or 2020, I think it was 2020, early part of 2020, 65% of the people had heard of the project, and 65% of the people of the survey said it was a good idea. It wasn't, the project wasn't a project to take anything away from the Fairlight Village Hall whatsoever.
No.
It was nothing to do with that at all. It was just to have a bigger single-spaced unit that could be let out to, say, large wedding parties. Car parking is not a problem up there. It can be arranged, whereas we know that the car parking problem at the Village Hall is a major problem. The other reason that a charity was set up was the Parish Council could and probably would have done early on in the stage of the project, applied for a public works loan. Whether they'd have got it or not, nobody knows, because it never went down that route. But that meant that the residents of Fairlight wouldn't be paying for it. Not all the residents, you can't please everybody, but only some of the people some of the time. Some of those that wanted it were quite happy, wouldn't have minded the amount of money going on the rates, etc., etc. But it was felt that that was the wrong thing to do, which is why that it went down the route of a charity to try and get the money outside of the Parish Council using a public works loan. I think I'd like to thank Jeff and the team for an awful lot of work that they did in getting this done. As Jeff said, it still is a Parish Council project. The planning application expires in June this year.
July.
Yeah, July. I don't know what the Parish Council feel, whether or not they'd like to. If we apply for an extension, it's just that extension for another year.
The only thing which would probably be required for an extension, no, it would have been 3 years.
Oh,
Andrew may know. The only thing more than likely we would require another bat survey, believe it or not. But it's about the only thing likely.
So we need to decide. There needs to be somebody that's willing to run with the project if the Parish Council considered to stay with the project. That's one thing. Does the Parish Council want to continue with the project, looking at it and persevering, trying to get this foul water and rainwater to go down into Meadow Way? And does the Parish Council want to extend the planning application for another 3 years? It's a pen exercise, I think, isn't it, Andrew? Yeah. A short amount to get it extended.
Well, it's normally not a problem. I have to be careful what I say because I'm on the planning committee. So
okay. Well, I don't want to jeopardise, but as far as I'm aware,
yes, I think it's almost routinely granted.
I did speak to Katie Edwards about it. basically hinted it wouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
Again,
Okay.
commit.
No. Okay, so it's
Before the
possible that
events.
it could be continued for another 3 years, the planned application.
I think, sorry,
No, no,
interrupting.
carry
I
on.
think it's important. My personal feeling is we should keep it as a project. Eventually, Activate's Up's going to collapse. If devolution happens, it could be a totally different picture on a project like this. That's all I can really say. I mean, at the moment, as Steve pointed out, the public works loan was a no-no. When we started this project back in 2018, that was almost the way it was going to be looked at going. But that's when the public work loan was something like 1.7% interest. By the time we got planning permission after COVID, with a hold up for COVID, the public works loan was 5.5%. I think it's possibly even slightly higher than that now. But it's 5.5 and I looked into it with Pauline Collins 18 months ago. And that's when we were projecting the money on the build costs of round about circa 500,000 maximum. But it could be double that, and it was not a viable proposition to look at the public works loan then. In 2 years' time, you don't know.
There were different types of build types that we looked at as well.
Yeah.
You know, so we've looked at tubular, manufactured, steel, everything that's been looked at. The very first two quotes that we got were just estimates based on just a straight size and a few rooms. And the lowest that came in then was 325. That was just that was back in 2020. I think what I'd like council members to go away and give it some thought, and maybe come back in March, because we've still got time. Maybe come back in March, and probably try and decide whether or not the parish council really want to stay with the project, and who will be willing to run the project. Clearly, whoever it is won't be doing it on their own. Sorry.
No. I did do a report, I've done a major report for all councils.
So you need to read that, and it's quite extensive report. Yeah. Is everybody happy about that? Yeah. Okay. Fine.
Sorry. So you're looking for around about £1 million?
It could be up to that figure. I mean, at the moment, the people we would probably have preferred to use, with the estimation of the soakaway, that would be working out to just over 800,000.
So by the time the build, if it did happen, you're talking about £1 million?
Again, you could scrap what we've got at the moment and just go and get clean quotes from a modular build sort of company. You know, you don't have to stick with the design we've been working on. The big costs, well, some of the big costs have been actually the surveys. So that's done and dusted. I don't know how long they last for, but they're done. But the soil survey was probably the most expensive thing on so far today. You know, but my personal feeling is that the parish council, I mean, I wearing my Activate hat, I've got to talk to the Bowls Club about this, but I do think now we've got permission to do a foul connection. I do think the Bowls Club and Activate should, with the council's permission, at least somehow try and do the foul run and get rid of the cesspits on the playing fields. And that could even secure a future build, or help secure a future build.
Yes, sorry.
It is a shame. I mean, I mean, I've worked tirelessly on it, and it's just got to the point where it's not going to happen. The way it's set up, the complication of the funding with the lease and the charity, when you could actually eliminate two things, being you can eliminate it being a charity and you can eliminate it needing a lease. Because if it's done by the parish council, you don't need a lease during the build process.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt.
Okay, right. Item 14, protocol document for planning application in Fairlight. To consider the protocol document recommended at planning meeting on 28th of January. This was a document that was produced by Dr. Ruth Cosmin in 2020. It has an awful lot of very good points which we went through in planning. I think we need to leave that with planning to deal with rather than it be done with parish council. The planning committee can send in the relevant paragraphs that are applicable. You've got Article 4, you've got the DASA, the DEN 6 or 5, whatever it is. You've also got something that Andrew mentioned to me the other day. I did write it down, but I forgot to bring it with me. I think we need to leave that just to the planning committee. If a property comes up in the Article 4 area that needs to have all these documents, then we'll attach the documents. My only concern is, and I did say this at the last meeting, is that I know for a fact that, and I'm not saying it because Andrew's here, but I will say it, that not all of those comments that go on those planning applications are actually read. Yeah, I know that for a fact because I've rung and spoken to the chap and he said, oh yeah, I haven't read that one. And that was 6 weeks after it had been posted. So I know they can't all be read. But I think if we stick to the rules and regulations that have been laid down, the Article 4 and the Rother District Council plans, national plans, etc., I don't think we can go far wrong. That way it takes it out of the parish council's hands and puts it into the planning committees. Yeah?
Yep.
Okay, fine, good. Item 15, strategic still application. Okay, we did apply for seal money for the pavilion sewage. However, that was turned down. That was after Danielle spoke to the chap regarding filling in the form, and it was filled in as best that we could fill it in. And the chap that we spoke to, he was asked, is that enough? Have we got that all right? And he said, yes, that's fine. However, it wasn't enough. What they're saying is that they would like to see more detailed of the EOI expression of interest for the next SIL funding, which will be in May 2025. Yeah, so we got to put more meat on the bone, so to speak, for the sewage works. Can you and I work on that, Jeff?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Okay.
But it won't be for the pavilion. It might be. Yeah.
Well, we're still going to ask for it to do if we do the pavilion sewage, whether it's the sewage for the pavilion or the sewage for the bowls club. Yeah.
Sorry. So to consider submitting a more detailed expression of interest, we are going to.
We are going to, yes. Right, matters for information or noting. Correspondence. Right, Andrew, you would like me to read out your email? Yeah.
Yes, it's not very well worded, but
okay. Well, I'll edit a few bits into it. Right, one. I note the reduction in the parish precept, which in some ways is welcome. However, I would like to issue a note of caution. Parish precepts are not at present capped in the way that Rother and county precepts are capped. Subject to the auditor's supervision, the parish can raise any amount it chooses. It would be unwise to assume this happy arrangement will continue indefinitely. I know of no plan or proposal to cap parish precepts, but there has often been general talk of it, which has come to nothing. If the precept is kept at a level only just sufficient for existing needs, then if there is capping, and once reserves are depleted, there will be nothing for the new or unexpected commitments. With local government restructuring, devolution, and Rother's own financial position, it is not difficult to see that more is likely to be required of parishes in the future. I would encourage any parish to ensure it is future-proofed so far as permissible. Shall I stop there, Andrew? Do you want to elaborate on that or not?
I think that makes sense. I'm not trying to start a scare, and as I say there, I know nothing. I don't have any confidential information. There's nothing behind it except the general knowledge that I've picked up over the years and reading the rooms.
Okay.
And I just wanted to make sure that everybody was aware of that possibility.
Okay, I think it's safe to say that the parish council were not aware that there could be a possible capping. Yes, there was a reason why the precept was lowered, and we all know why it was lowered. It does leave us room, if there is no capping, it does leave us room to increase it next year if we spend the seal money. So there is room for manoeuvre. Whereas it was felt this year, and I think I can speak for Jeff only, I think, Jeff only, that it was rather high. There was no need for it to be that high. We had got the £46,000 seal money, rightly or wrongly, with the problems with Market Garden. We have it, we can't send it back. The only way we can send it back is not to spend it in the next 5 years. If we don't spend it, it has to go back. So there is some leeway in there. We have earmarked reserves. We have a general fund as well. I think, and I hope Jeff agrees as well. I think we've got enough there to cover what we want to do this year.
Definitely.
We'll look at it again next year. Yeah. I think that, we don't know what devolution is going to do. Sorry, Jeff, but we don't know what devolution is going to cause any problems with us. Dumping more work on the parish council for those people who don't get paid, who do it for the love of the residents, and now going to get lumbered, possibly, with more work to do. Yeah. Whereas the people that are currently doing it and get paid don't do half the stuff they're supposed to do. I'll leave it at that. And it's a very emotive subject from my point of view. And I'm not happy with it at all in terms of the devolution, but that's by the by. Is there anything else you want to add on that point, or number one?
Yes, I would just say that I appreciate completely that it's a matter for the parish council how they set the precepts and how you look at these things. But there is always the possibility of the unexpected, and we've been talking about the land at Channel Way. Now, from recollection, I think the parish council bought that from the Crown for £1 shortly before my time on the parish council, and some people have said that that's the worst decision the parish council has ever made, because there is then the potential huge liability. I mean, if Natural England suddenly said, you've got to do all the things to that land which Hastings Borough Council have been doing for the Fire Hills, you would have a sudden enormous liability. I mean, equally, if Rother District Council, and if Rother District Council does do this, then I'm resigning from Rother District Council, but if Rother District Council said, oh, we can't afford to pay for upgrading the wells in Rockmead Road, will you, parish council, are going to have to do that. There are some potential huge liabilities. Yeah. It's just a warning, just so that everybody's aware.
Okay.
That's all.
All right, thank you. Number 2, application for strategic seal, agenda item 25th February. I would like to emphasise the importance of involving your district and, where appropriate, county councils in matters such as this. We may know the rules, or at least where to find them, We have good contacts with officers so we can arrange and attend meetings, etc. with them and maximise the PC's chances of success. We're here to help. We appreciate you're here to help, as we are for Tim and Carl. Danielle spoke to this chap, Aaron, I believe his name is, and I spoke to Aaron, and there didn't seem to be a problem with our application. I don't know what else to do other than exacerbate on the application that we made and send it in again. You know.
They have come back with the extra information that they require from us.
Yeah. Okay, so we do have a paper of what as they wanted to us to reply to. Could you send a copy of that?
Yeah, I think I just send it to you, but I'll resend it.
Right, are the surface water issues at the pavilion restricting the use of the pavilion currently? Well, there's not a pavilion there. In the EOI, the pavilion is described as hut. The panel wishes the wish to have some greater information on the current building and whether the works proposed would increase the capacity of the building. We can do that. And when does the planning permission for the proposal expire? Well, we can do that as well. So. For them to kick that out and to come back with no, it wasn't acceptable. There's just 3 questions there. I would have thought Aaron could have quite easily have read that and said, Steve or Daniel, can you answer these 3 for us? Save a bit of time.
I'm not sure if he knows what they're gonna say before they said it.
It's possibly, but if he's been doing it a long time.
It's a general point that sometimes we as district councillors or county councillor, we know the people who are doing these things. We know the people on the panel considering it. We can talk to them. We can arrange meetings. We can get less formal feedback, and we might know how things work in a less formal way, and we can sometimes steer you. We're not magicians, but we are here to help. That's why we're here. That particular thing, because the project probably isn't going to happen, it's no longer important. But other things, might be. When you're responding to the local plan. We may be able to steer you or sit down with you and discuss things. We can help. We can work together. That's the offer.
I don't think that's ever been in dispute. Really, it's just at what point do we say, well, we know what we're going to ask and we know what we want to do. Do we need to ask Andrew or Tim? Yes, I've asked Tim. You've come back with other things. It's taken on board. If we need to fill these sort of things in, we'll ask in the future. Okay, thank you. Right, the other correspondence. Yeah. That's that, wasn't it?
I thought you were going to talk about that on the website.
Okay. Oh, well, I'd already mentioned that. Yes, I will do. Okay. So we'll do reports from councillors. Councillor Whiteman to give an update on VE Day celebrations.
Yep. Jeff and I met last week with Chris from the Residents Association, Nicola Porter from British Legion, and Wendy Hatch, woman of many hats. And I think plans are going quite well. I left there feeling quite excited actually. It's going to be a good community occasion. So we have the Fairlight players involved. They're going to do a couple of sketches, the Village Voices. The British Legion have got all sorts of things lined up, but they're also involving some audience participation, tea room dancing lessons.
Oh, shall we go in? Okay.
Residents Association are, I believe, on the catering, but there will be volunteers for cakes, craft activities. We was all quite on board with the fact that we need to involve the young people. Chris.
Yeah, I was asked to check with the coordinators of Pitch to see if they would be available to do the refreshments on the day. It's a very busy week for them. They're going to do their own VE Day stuff on the Monday. I believe some of the coordinators are involved in the Jack in the Green festivities that are actually being held in Hastings
On the Monday.
on the Monday and finish around about the Wednesday. So by the Thursday they reckon they might not be able to do anything, but have suggested church ladies.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Church ladies, apparently I don't know the church ladies. They do cakes and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
So the
okay,
suggestion
so
might
we
quite
could
to approach
just...
Do you know Pat?
the church ladies.
No, I don't.
What's her name? Linda something.
She lives in Pat Staines. Is
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
Pat
right.
James.
I'm not sure I should mention that.
Linda something.
And the other one, which was the involvement of Happy Ever Crafters.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's going to get discussed at their next meeting to see what it is that they could
they
potentially
do
put
to put
on.
on, yeah.
On the kind of make do and mend kind of sessions.
Okay.
Dance sock,
Yeah, that,
maybe a petticoat, a parachute.
yeah. Yeah, so I have spoken to Chris from Guestwell Scouts, and the Scouts are willing to get involved and do something about how the Scouts helped out the Home Garden, that kind of thing, in the war effort, and she's liaising with the Scouting Association. Yeah, so lots of things going on. We sorted out the lighting of the beacon and
Yeah.
publicity, so
And the history group are involved.
and the history
as well.
group are involved.
Yeah,
Yeah.
history group. Have you spoke to Luke?
I've brought Luke and Paul up to date. Hayden.
Yeah.
We're meeting again on the 3rd of April.
3rd of April, yeah, in the beginning of April, yeah.
I did talk to Keith Miller the other day. He was around for a cup of tea, and I did offer him a couple of guns, but he said that we were going to leave that out. Didn't want them. Hand grenades, yeah, but didn't want any guns. Okay, Councillor Carter, give an update on the footpaths, 32 and 34.
Right. Okay. Before we go to get quotes for the work, we need to be certain of what we actually want the contractors to do. We actually want them to quote for. So I think we know with Fairlight 34 what's wanted, i.e. the path steps up from Woodland Way into the wood. But I don't think we're absolutely sure about how we're going to handle Fairlight 32, which is the footpath from Waits Lane up to Woodland Way, which I think probably sees more footfall on the basis that it is an easier way to get from Waits Lane, from here up to the top end of Woodland Way. So I think it's quite important that is made as sustainable as possible. There were some suggestions made when I spoke to Matt Harper about putting some rails across. By that I mean, if you dig a shallow channel diagonally across, you can get water to run from the left-hand side coming down the right-hand side into the bushes on the right-hand side, which is it's quite a depth of, well, there's 2 to 3 feet worth of bushes there, so plenty of soil to soak up any runoff. So we need to be certain what we were asking a contractor to do, so they're all on the same level playing field when it comes to giving us a price on it. That's all I can say at the moment. We need to, and I need to involve Jeff and Dominic, because we're involved with dam management, are we not? And
Of course, go carry on.
sorry?
I was going to say, I'm not up to speed on what the footpath problem is. 34 Woodland Way is now the responsibility of, is it Rother East Sussex? We bought it off the lady and we signed it over to East Sussex Council.
Yeah, it is their responsibility, but when you look at their minuscule budget, they're not going to look at something like that. It could be years before they'd ever get around to it, and it would probably be, even then, there'd be more urgent cases. So some of these things we have to do for ourselves because the money isn't available to do it.
Yeah, I went up there today and nearly went, you know what, over
Yeah.
3 times,
I
going up and coming back.
I think Fairlight 32 is worse because you've got that spring adjacent to the path, which will always be dribbling water down the path. So I think we need to discuss exactly what we want them to do before we actually, and then we can get some quotes in and get it done hopefully before the spring comes and people start, more people like to use it.
Okay. Right, thanks, Michael. So we'll leave that with you and the team.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay, thank you. Right, my one. Chair's given an update on the directgov website. It's done and it's finished. It's ready to go live. Not everything is on there. All the necessary documents by law that we're supposed to put on a website are on there. And it is, as an example of things that aren't on there, where are the grit bins, where are the ordinary bins. It's not hard to do, it's quite easy to do, but I felt that it was necessary to get everything that we should get on there, all the minutes, the agendas, etc., all the documents that's necessary. So they're all on there. We're just waiting for our lovely clerk to do the email addresses, which is imminent. Is that right?
Yep.
Good. And then it will go live. Parts of the new website is to split out some of the stuff that's on the old website, and that takes me back to one of the items of communication that somebody sent in and asked. They would like to know where the parish councils have not why the parish councils have not published financial data, e.g. the monthly statement of income and expenditure, so the residents can see what their money is being spent on. That's a valid point. We've been trying to work out how we can split the information that councillors get with supporting documents, how we can take that piece out without having to create another...
Sorry, I'm going to take my coughing fit.
Okay. Without creating a spreadsheet. We're not going to create a spreadsheet. We want to produce all the documents out of Realtors. So it's clear that we're not fiddling anything, we're not doing anything wrong, but we purely want the amount of money in, the amount of money expenditure, and just one report. And we've found out how to do that today. So it is on the website, the current website. We will be putting December's on the website as well, but the new website will be split. So that information will come under a heading, transparency information. Okay, so the people that want to look at the accounts each month, that's the only place they have to go. Look at the list, look at the expenditure, look at the receipts, print it out, add it up at the end of the 12 months, and it should come back to exactly what the clerk or the RFO has got in her books. And there's no reason why it shouldn't. But that's it. So, any questions on the website?
No? Good. I think congratulations to all involved who's got it done so quickly.
Yeah. It was quite a bit of hard work on everybody's point of view, but it is done and it's finished now. Items for consideration for future agenda items, number 18. We've got the pavilion on there still.
Can we have Market Garden again? Because there should be some information back from the MP's letter to RDC. And also, I believe the planning meetings we called out for about March 13th, yeah. So hopefully we should have some more information back on that for the meeting.
I've got leases.
Okay, leases.
Transport access route, seal, Market Garden site.
Yeah. What was the other one you just said?
I don't know what one.
Leases.
Leases, tennis court access route.
All right, tennis court.
Okay.
Benches. Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody got anything else they want to put on there?
I'd like to put on it, that's the right word for it, street furniture.
Okay.
What I'm hoping to do, and I'm hoping to do it with some decent weather to wall up, is to take photographs of all the bits and pieces of street furniture. We've got benches, bus shelters, notice boards and the rest of it, and produce a report with photographs. And I would be asking Jeff if we can somehow put the photographs up on the screen.
Yeah.
Right, if I take benches out and I put street furniture and then I'll put underneath that part of that is particular benches, yeah?
Yeah.
No, because we're going to have to make
You're going to make a
there's
decision
not
on
going
the
to be any
benches.
decision that's going to have to be made on the street furniture, but on the benches,
On the
we're going
benches,
to have to
really.
make a decision because it's going to have costs involved in that.
Okay, fine.
So they're going to be separate from-
Okay, anything else? No? Okay.
No.
Bus stops?
I thought,
Well, I thought they were on there. Do we want that to make a decision next month, or do we want to put it under street furniture to talk about? Because we should be doing it. So it really needs to be a part of the benches one, shouldn't we?
But we haven't decided what we want to do with them yet, have we?
well,
It needs replacing the one at Knoll Road, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It needs replacing at Knoll Road.
it's just a one. really.
Yeah, okay.
But then everything else will be covered under Michael's idea.
Okay. Right, we'll put the bus stop on Knoll Road and on that agenda as well. Right, nothing else? Okay, close the meeting.
Hopefully a bottle of champagne to crack on the CCTV.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry,
No, you're not.
the recording issues, will the parish council be taking it on, or do you want us to
All the time you guys are doing it, carry on doing it.
Okay.
There was talk about doing it live, which I believe somebody's getting
It's not
together a small
possible,
team.
It's not possible with sound quality at the moment with the equipment I've got. So
Okay. Well, you guys want to carry on. All we would be, I think all the parish council will probably be doing is just recording it, much like you're doing it there. In reality, but by all means, if you want to carry on videoing, please do. Feel free. Okay, end the meeting. Thank you. Time